She's the star of a serial that's taken the country by storm. For a year, if not more, it's held us in its thrall. We all know what she's like on screen, but what is she like in person? Well, here's your chance to find out as I introduce you to Smriti Malhotra. Welcome to the program, Smriti, or should I say, Tulsi Bhabhi.
Thanks, Karan.
How often do you get mistaken for your screen role, and when it happens, are you pleased or irritated?
Well, people know me more as Tulsi than Smriti. You're one of the rare ones who actually knows my name. But when I do get called Tulsi Bhabhi on the streets, it's a compliment for me as an actor. That means I'm doing my job well. I don't get that irritated by it.
You dominated the serial, and yet the amazing thing is, I'm told, that there were loads of people who kept saying to Ekta she was making a terrible mistake.
That's true. I had a confession from the writers of the serial who said we ran to Ekta. We told her, if you're casting this girl, you're making a big mistake. Change your decision now. And thankfully, Ekta was firm.
What do they think was wrong with you?
Well, they had this girl who was wearing her jeans and a t-shirt and glasses and absolutely not interested in flattering anybody or behaving in a filmy style, in a filmy manner, sitting quietly in one corner reading a book, waiting for her turn.
Everything that Tulsi isn't on screen.
Everything an actress isn't, actually, very honestly speaking. So they couldn't believe that this person came here to act. I didn't have an attitude an actor is supposed to have. I didn't have the flair. And I didn't have, I guess, the behavior pattern that comes with a normal Indian actor.
In fact, it even happened to you when you went for the audition. I'm told that the lady in charge of the audition had one look at you and wanted to send you back home.
Yeah, she said, I said, I've come here to audition for Tulsi. And she just looked at me up and down and she said, I don't think so. So I was like, but excuse me, could you please look under Tulsi's name? There's a name called Smriti Malhotra. That's me. I've come here for the audition. She wouldn't believe me. She checked the whole book. She couldn't find my name. So I said, please go ahead. Why don't you check under Tulsi? And she gave me one look like, poor soul, she doesn't know what she's in for. She flipped the pages and right there under Tulsi, she said, there's a girl called Smriti. I said, that's me. So she said, yeah? Okay, I guess. And then she gave me the script and that's where the story began.
You know, it went on to become, and still is, in fact, probably the most successful serial that there's ever been in India. Is it true that Ekta actually predicted this success the day she chose you for the role?
Very honestly speaking, the second day of my shoot, Ekta came and met me on the sets. She knew that a lot was riding on the serial. It was the first daily show for Star Plus. It was the first daily show for Balaji. For her, it was a very prestigious project. She had put in all that she could into it. And that's why she was absolutely sure that since she has put in all the hard work and she has selected a good cast, this thing is going to hit the mark. But looking at me, she wasn't that sure whether I understand what was going to happen to me because of the serial. So she came up to me on the set and she said, Smriti, do you know what role you've been given? And for me, it was just another normal role. She said, there's a lot riding on it. And then she explained to me the whole process that she had to go through. I was not overawed. For me, it was this girl who was my age, who was handling such a big company. For her, it was a stepping stone. So I understood where she came from. I understood her fears. I understood her dreams. And for me, it was like, okay, if I can be a part of it, why not? If my end can make it happen, then why not?
And yet the outcome is still quite difficult to understand, because when Kyunki happened, it was so different to everything else on television. It emphasizes the strong traditional role of women, not the modern defiant woman. In a strange way, do you think that difference is responsible for its success?
My role, as far as Tulsi goes, all I can say for that, not for the serial, is that I played Tulsi not only as a traditional Indian Bahu, but I also played her as a woman with a modern outlook as well to life. I didn't play her as you would normally see Bahus and wives being played on Indian screen, somebody who wouldn't know how to speak English or wouldn't know how to carry herself. I made a determined effort to project Tulsi as somebody who's educated, who knows where she's coming from.
And yet is part of tradition.
Who's yet traditional. Because I truly believe that women today, no matter how successful a career they have, do make certain compromises, do let a lot of things go at home to keep peace at home. And when you know that fact of life, why not bring it onto screen?
So in a sense,
that's why I think a lot of people identified a lot of women.
And you were projecting a real reality that you sensed was out there.
Yes, I did. I did speak to a lot of women. I noticed a lot of women and the conversations they used to have in either kitty parties or sitting together late at night outside in the veranda. I would remember conversations my aunts or my neighbors would have with each other about the problems they would face. And I'd remember the advice elderly women would give, a newly married girl of how to tackle problems. And I thought this is the way to play the role.
It's interesting you should mention that about elderly women. Many people say that the critical relationship in the serial is between you and Ba. Would you accept that?
In a way, yes. In a way, yes. Because it is a way of bridging the gap between two generations. Tulsi is the way of bringing about a certain amount of peace between Ba and her daughter-in-law, Savita. Of making Ba understand where Savita comes from. Making Savita understand what problems Ba must be facing at her age. What dreams Ba must be having. I've seen a lot of women identify with my sympathies, with my relationship with Ba. In fact, I had a lady who was around 55, 60 years old. One Sunday morning, she knocks on my door. She says, I am part crippled from my left leg. I'm having somewhat of a problem at home with my daughter-in-laws. But what gives me strength is the fact that a bahu like you could mend ways and bring about peace. So hopefully one day my grandson will marry a girl like you and I'll have peace at home. That for me was like, that's the day I realized, oh God, this thing is really having an impact on people's lives.
Amazing. And yet the interesting thing is you never trained as an actress and you had no experience before you stepped in front of the cameras the first time.
None.
Were you nervous?
No, I was not.
Not even a little bit?
No, I was not. I was not at all nervous. The first time I faced a screen for a serial was with another actor, was with Neena Kulkarni. I was not nervous, I was more of in awe of Neena because I had seen her work before. For me, she was a senior and I quite liked her acting. So for me, on the same platform as that actress, that was quite a shocker. And that's when I realized, okay, you decided to be an actor. Now's the time to get serious about it. Apart from that, I was never nervous.
You say now's the time to get serious about it. Does that mean you've now had to acquire an attitude so that casting ladies don't look askance at you next time around?
I still don't have an attitude, unfortunately. I still don't have an attitude. In fact, a journalist approached me one day and said, you know, the problem is, Smriti, you're brutally honest and you're no nonsense. You're not at all like an actress is supposed to be.
And what did you say?
I said, thank you for the compliment. Because I like the fact that I don't have a frivolous personality. I like the fact that people respect me for my views.
And you're determined to stay like that as well?
Yes, because I think this is just the beginning of my career. It might not be that of an actress 5 years from now. I might be a writer, an entrepreneur, anything. But for me, it's just a stepping stone. It's not the be-all and end-all of Smriti. And the fact that it has been the #1 show for the past 1 year and the fact that it's not gone to my head, I think is a good thing. That means I can handle more success.
In fact, not only handle more success, because side by side you do another TV show where you play a very different role. You're an agony aunt in Janam Samjha Karo. Is that more fun or more demanding?
I'm not actually an agony aunt. I'm more of a sounding board for people. A lot of people come on board talking about their relationships, talking about the past, talking about their desires for the future, desires from each other. For me, I'm kind of a sounding board for them. Also, when I see couples who've been married like for 20, 25 years, I see the problems that they have. I see the laughter that they share. There are times when, while I'm shooting, I actually think to myself, okay, if my marriage lasts for 25 years and I happen to share so much of happiness with my husband, I guess I'd be really lucky.
But you know, being a sounding board is not easy. It means you have to be very sympathetic to other people's concerns and interests. Are you naturally a sympathetic person?
I would disagree on that, Karan. It's not only sympathetic, being neutral, I think is more important.
You mean not taking sides in their problem?
Yeah, not taking sides. There are times when in the middle of a conversation a wife presumes that being a woman I would take her side, and I do actually the opposite of it. I tell her that, you know what, your husband's right, you're wrong.
Do you do it sometimes deliberately to try and wake her up and shake her?
No, I give her the honest truth, which she refuses to see. Because I think two people work at a relationship, two people keep a relationship going. So it's just because I'm a woman And just because I'm supposed to be Tulsi Bhabhi does not mean that you sitting at the opposite end, what you're doing in your relationship would actually be right.
In fact,
Maybe the poor chap is not at fault for a change. Maybe he needs to be heard.
So when people ask you for your advice on Janam Samjha Karo, do they sort of think they're asking Tulsi rather than Smriti and get shaken when Smriti answers and does so in a way perhaps Tulsi wouldn't have done?
I break the image just 5 minutes into the interview. Honestly speaking, a lot of people do come out to the show thinking they'll be speaking to Tulsi and thinking I'll be speaking in that tone, or thinking I'll be speaking with a particular set of ideas in my mind. But 5 minutes into the conversation, they realize, okay, this is somebody different. So the conversation from there on takes place as if it would take place between three like-minded individuals. It does not take place as if there's this actor you're talking to. It takes place as if you're talking to either some friend next door or your neighbor next door.
It's
which
interesting
I think
that you should talk about breaking the image within 5 minutes. Does it ever worry you that because of the success of Kyunki and the powerful personality of Tulsi, you might be typified in people's eyes as a sort of, how would they call it, goody-goody wife? And you
see, for an actor, what's important is to have, obviously, variety of roles. I was fortunate enough to begin with comedy, Bekman Zulala. That's where I was spotted by Shobha Kapoor. Then I went on to a very serious drama series called Atish with Sanjay Upadhyay, where my role was not that of a, not one of your traditional Bahu's role.
But will moving on from Tulsi be as easy?
I don't know. Honestly speaking, I don't know. I don't think I would ever get a negative role to play, because I don't think people would ever believe it. But I might get more positive, more strong roles, which project women in a different image altogether.
So far you haven't looked for such roles in films, is that deliberate?
So far, films have not looked at me, very honestly speaking. Because I think what the journalist said was true. My behavior does not welcome a filmmaker to come and sit across the table and talk to me.
But you would welcome one if he did?
I haven't seen anyone yet. I don't think so, because my mindset does not agree to that kind of a working pattern. I don't have the patience to listen to how somebody gave break to one legend, or how one actress got a job here and that. I don't have the patience for all that. So, which is the normal norm in the industry? You give the person opposite you the respect of listening to his history for a good 2 hours and then get on to your role.
You haven't got the patience for that.
I don't have the patience. Like I say, I'm a no-nonsense human being. So people don't approach me with such stuff.
But if they did, and if the role was challenging, you wouldn't necessarily say no.
Honestly speaking, now I don't think I'll get a role apart from the goody goody bhabhi image. I don't think I'll get anything.
A source of regret?
No. I think television today has given me the amount of fame that any actress on the Indian screen would get, which is something quite shocking, but that's the truth. Apart from the fame, what it also has given me is a certain amount of respect among people. I can walk into any household today and I'll be treated seriously. I'll be treated with a lot of respect, and I don't want to lose it, very honestly speaking. I don't want to run around trees and have men look at me in a different way. That's as blatant as I can get.
Let's take a break. I want to come back and find out what is this lady that in front of me is actually like. You've told me what you're like as Tulsi. I want to know what you're like as yourself. We'll be back in a couple of moments. Stick with us. Welcome back. My guest is Smriti Malhotra. Let's talk about your childhood. I gather you grew up in a family where both your parents worked, and while they were away, you and your sisters tore the place apart.
Yeah, in a way. We tried to be as disciplined as we could, but there was a time after school where we knew our parents would be away at work, and we would utilize to bring the house down, and mind you, clean up just half an hour before my mom got home.
So mom never really found out until you told her?
Till I think one day she took a half-day leave and she came home, and then the house was in a mess, and then she understood what's going to happen is like exactly at 4:30 I ring the alarm, and then all the sisters go helter-skelter clean up the place, and she happened to watch all that, and then she's like, okay, this is what you guys do behind my back.
She says that you were a very strong-willed and determined young child, and that it was impossible to discipline you.
I didn't take a lot of disciplining, actually, very honestly speaking. I was more or less of a loner, very happy with a book. I was not into socializing, not into partying. I wouldn't, I think I took my first school trip when I was 16 years old. Since I was the quiet sort, I didn't need to be disciplined a lot. But yeah.
But you weren't above getting into scrapes with all the boys in the neighborhood, were you?
Well, as long as possible, I lied by telling them I fell down somewhere and hit my head somewhere else and fell off a bike somewhere. So they wouldn't know where all the scrapes and all the marks would come from, till one day my mom actually witnessed me in a fist fight with a boy. And that's when she knew that, you know, I've been fibbing all along.
I believe she was shouting from the balcony, "She's a girl, she's a girl."
Let her go! And for me, that was the biggest insult possible. I'm like, how can you tell him that? It's okay, I can fight to him man to man. So my mom was like, this is not how girls are meant to be. And for them, it was, since I didn't project any kind of ambition, for my parents, the only ambition in life I was supposed to have was that to be married off to one settled boy in London and all that. So for her, it was very essential for her to drill the fact home that this is not how girls behave. Girls are supposed to cook food and look after the house front and everything.
And you weren't going to have any of that?
None of that. None at all. Because at a very later stage in life, I realized that my whole life I have led according to the wishes of my parents. The rest of my life was going to be led according to the wishes